My dear readers, let us turn to episode 415 of Jordan Peterson's podcast. In general, Jordan Peterson's podcast is a digital agora of sorts, oscillating wildly in content and quality. A podcast that often finds itself veering into the realms of philosophical and political right-wing musings that, to the discerning ear, can range from the mildly provocative to the utterly preposterous. His dalliances with topics such as enforced monogamy and the alleged tyranny of political correctness have rightfully attracted criticism for their intellectual flimsiness and ideological bias. However, it's in episodes like the one featuring Drs. McMahon and Shoemaker that Peterson cunningly repositions himself on the chessboard of intellectual discourse. The presentation of CIRS, a topic steeped in medical science, marks a stark departure from Peterson's usual fare. Here he engages with a subject that demands empirical scrutiny and rigorous scientific methodology. The conversation delves into how common mold mutations might be responsible for a range of illnesses, including fibromyalgia, obesity, and depression, and how our hypoallergenic world might be inadvertently exacerbating these issues. Yet, herein lies the insidious danger. By interspersing his usual right-wing philosophical discourses with seemingly legitimate scientific discussions, Peterson adroitly repaints his image from a polarizing figure to a rational, open-minded intellectual. This is a subtle yet effective form of intellectual sleight of hand. By engaging with serious scientists and their research, he lends a veneer of credibility and reasonableness to his platform, which can be dangerously misleading. Dr. McMahon's narrative, while compelling, tiptoes dangerously close to the archetype of the lone genius challenging the medical establishment. His journey from pediatric practice to specializing in CIRS under the tutelage of Dr. Shoemaker is the kind of narrative that is catnip to those disillusioned with mainstream medicine. However, this romanticized view of medical maverickism can obscure the need for empirical validation and consensus in the scientific community. The leap from the hypothesis that sanitized environments might be breeding more potent pathological responses to claiming a widespread prevalence of CIRS-related illnesses is not just a leap, but a veritable chasm that requires more than anecdotal evidence to bridge. The lack of large-scale epidemiological studies or a consensus in the wider medical community about CIRS, as presented by Drs. McMahon and Shoemaker, should be a red flag. Yet, in the podcast, these critical aspects are glossed over, allowing a narrative unencumbered by the weight of scientific scrutiny to take center stage. Peterson's role in this is not just that of a passive interviewer. By selectively engaging with these topics and not providing a counterbalancing perspective, he artfully crafts an image of himself as a rational seeker of truth, conveniently obfuscating his more controversial and less intellectually tenable positions. This is not just disingenuous, it's intellectually dishonest. The danger is that for an unwary audience, the legitimacy lent to episodes like these casts a halo effect on his other, less scientifically grounded assertions. While the exploration of CIRS in Peterson's podcast presents an interesting case, it is emblematic of a larger strategy. Intersperse intellectually questionable content with seemingly credible scientific discourse to rehabilitate one's image as a serious thinker. This approach is intellectually disingenuous and potentially misleading, underscoring the need for a more critical and discerning engagement with such content, particularly when it emanates from a platform known for its ideological leanings and philosophical provocations.